There's plenty of roles to go around in the Yellowstone universe for everyone. Taylor Sheridan welcomed established names in Hollywood into his epic westerns, including Harrison Ford, Helen Mirren, Tim McGraw, and who could ever forget about Kevin Costner? There's a place for everyone in Taylor's story, and that includes Matthew McConaughey, who was once rumored to be replacing Kevin Costner as the new lead of the show, by the way. That fact alone should give you an insight into just how badly Taylor wanted to work with Matthew. Eventually, headlines broke that the actor wouldn't replace John Dutton as the lead in the parent series, because really, how could he? But he'd just get his own spin-off series, and if you're a fan of Sheridan's work, you know he loves a good spin-off. But it's been a hot minute since everyone's talked about the spin-off, and that's got everyone questioning the future of the Sheridanverse. Additionally, is Matthew going to work in his spin-off series by appearing in the finale of Yellowstone? What's all the buzz? We've got you covered. Season 6 can't happen without Kevin Costner. Does Yellowstone have to end? According to Taylor Sheridan, 5 seasons wasn't how he'd originally intended the epic western to end. Fans would agree that 5 just isn't enough. 7 would be more like it. And that's exactly what Taylor had planned up until the scriptwriters team was sent into a frenzy in 2022. Why? That was when the lead actor, Kevin Costner, announced his exit from Yellowstone. To say that the actor's exit came as a surprise would be the understatement of the century. No one saw it coming. And many believe that Kevin might not have thought about it until the very last minute either. Everything came crashing down all at once, and there was only one way to save it: Matthew McConaughey. Now, after Kevin's exit from the series was confirmed, and that took some convincing for fans, Paramount announced 2 things. They wished Kevin well, and that the second half of Season 5 would be the very end of the series. That's right. After debuting in 2018 and running for 5 seasons, the show would finally come to an end with the last 6 episodes of the second half of Season 5. By the way, make sure to tune in on November 10th for the finale. In any case, once the dust settled on Kevin's exit, the question turned to who'd be replacing him in the series. There was no way anyone could come into the show 5 seasons in and take on John Dutton III's role. No way at all. So everyone assumed that a new lead would be introduced in the finale season, and then that lead character's story would be expanded upon in a spin-off. That's a very Sheridan-like thing to do, by the way. A lot of good names came up, but one stuck, and that would be Matthew McConaughey. For good reason, obviously. The veteran actor's been a part of several hit franchises and is notable for his cowboy-esque personas. Name a better actor for the Yellowstone universe. We'll wait. But we'd be waiting for a lifetime. So when the idea was pitched that the star of True Detective would become the new lead, fans were immediately on board. However, that's when they asked another question. What if Matthew just takes over the reins from John in Yellowstone? Frankly, do we even need a spin-off? Again, Taylor had planned 7 seasons for the show and had to scramble to wrap up everything in 5 seasons. Taylor obviously had a vision, and who better to carry it forward than Matthew? A few things to consider here. No one, and we mean no one, could fill the hole that Kevin Costner left in the show. That just means that even if fans wanted more Yellowstone, they wanted it on the condition that Kevin would be the one reprising the role. That being said, it's a wholly Dutton special with everyone part of the same family. And Rip, of course. Sure, Matthew could have been introduced as a distant relative like Taylor's done before in the spin-off series, but that would just create a new plot in an existing storyline. Plus, it'll change the direction of Yellowstone. The simple solution was to give Matthew his own show, and that was what was announced back in 2023. While we're on the topic of Kevin Costner and the hole he left behind in Yellowstone, however, you should know that he tried to come back. Yep, the actor revealed that he wanted to reprise his role one last time to give John the proper send-off that he deserved. The only problem with that heartfelt sentiment was that the finale had already been filmed and greenlit. There was no way Taylor was going to rewrite everything for a second time, and no way Paramount was about to dish out another couple of million to pay for it again. And pay Kevin Costner's salary on top of it? Not to fret, though, because early reviews from the cast that plays in the final season are in, and they're sure you've never seen anything like Yellowstone's finale ever. Sure, there might be an obvious bias here, but the cast is certain that the Yellowstone finale would be the best finale anyone's ever seen. Take it from Kelly Riley, who knows just how broken up fans are over John Dutton's absence from the finale. Still, she wants everyone to remember that Sheridan is a visionary who's written for several successful shows over the years. If there's anyone who's got it handled, it's that guy. Matthew might not be a part of the Yellowstone parent series, but that doesn't mean we've lost all hope in him being part of the franchise altogether. But wait, this is where you're in for the shock of a lifetime, because maybe that whole Matthew McConaughey starring in Yellowstone spin-off headline was a red herring. McConaughey or Kurt Russell or Matthew Fox. Everything we know about the Madison. In 2022, rumors started floating around that Matthew McConaughey would be part of the Yellowstone franchise. In 2023, it was confirmed that the actor was in talks with Paramount for a spin-off titled 2024. Now, we're in 2024, and there's no news on, ironically, 2024. So what happened? For starters, there won't be a 2024, but there will be a 2024 release. It's getting a tad confusing right now. The spin-off series is going to happen, but it's now been titled The Madison. Now that we've got that out of the way, let's talk about who's actually going to star in it. Yes, the news that McConaughey is definitely going to be the lead wasn't wholly accurate. Then again, media outlets jumped the gun when they made it seem like a done deal. The fact of the matter was that the actor was just in talks to play the lead, and there's probably some truth to the statements that suggested Sheridan was desperate to get him on board. Everything about Matthew McConaughey screams Western. Then again, wouldn't you say the same thing for another Hollywood icon, such as Kurt Russell? That's right, it's between the two of them right now on who gets to play the lead role. Kurt is also in talks with Paramount, and since The Madison is the only new spin-off on the horizon, it'd be a fair bet that Kurt would be the star of it. That is, if Matthew doesn't sweep in at the last minute. However, an actor from the spin-off just revealed that work on The Madison had started, and while they didn't mention the lead actor, it's fair to say that it probably isn't Matthew. Or then again, it might be, but a different Matthew. That's right, it's just got a whole lot more complicated with new names sprouting out. The latest news we have from The Madison is that Matthew Fox is confirmed to be a part of the show. Given his Hollywood status and star power, you'd likely think that he's the lead, and he might be. So right now we have Kurt, who was last reported to be talking to Paramount about a lead role, Matthew Fox, who is confirmed to be on The Madison, and then we have radio silence from Matthew McConaughey. Two leading actors can coexist with one another in Sheridanverse, however. We've seen that happen several times before, such as Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren. However, in that case, they were playing love interests, and the chances of these three actors playing a role in one end of a love triangle is pretty slim to none. But enough about the boys. Did you know that even if Matthew McConaughey was cast in The Madison, he wouldn't have been the lead anyway? It's not Kurt or Matthew Fox either. It's actually Michelle Pfeiffer. We don't know much about The Madison right now besides a plotline that suggests it follows the lives of the Clyburn family. This family is led by its matriarch, who relocates the whole family from New York City to the Madison Valley in Montana. Why? After the tragic and sudden death of her husband in a plane accident, this was the only thing that made sense to her. And her two kids, both grown daughters, one's a single mother and one's married to a man in finance. Speaking of which, another notable cast member in the upcoming series is the lead actor of Suits, Patrick J. Adams. He's not in the running for the lead, however, even though he'd play a pretty good cowboy. A few more details about The Madison, and these are details that have been changed since the show was first announced to now, when it's been greenlit for a 2025 release, starting with its connection to Yellowstone. Yes, it is a part of Sheridanverse, but think of its role less as 1883 or 1923, and more so as Tulsa King. That just suggests that Hole Taylor is at the helm of production and writing. He's not really keen on connecting The Madison to Yellowstone. This comes as contradictory to what was initially announced. Back in 2023, when we still thought Matthew McConaughey would be the star of the new spin-off, we were also led to believe that the spin-off would be a continuation of Yellowstone, which is why the name 2024 was proposed for it. The other spin-offs follow different timelines, and everyone assumed that this would too. However, giving it a proper name further alienates it from Yellowstone. Will there still be cowboys and ranches? Yes, it is set in Montana, and it seems like Pfeiffer's character is going to find a way to navigate through the ins and outs of living in the countryside after living in the city for so long. The likelihood of the backdrop of the Madison being similar to Yellowstone is very, very high. The likelihood of the story being a continuation of it, on the other hand, is very, very low. That's about it on the Madison as far as the story and timeline is confirmed. We still don't know if Kurt Russell is the lead, but it's fair to say that Matthew McConaughey will not be in the show. Could this be because he's gotten a bigger and better part elsewhere in Sheridanverse? Your guess would be as good as anyone else's right now. The news that he won't even be starring in this spinoff came as a surprise to begin with. But that's just Taylor Sheridan for you, a man with something up his sleeve at all times. Speaking of which, why did talks with Matthew not go through? Why wasn't the star offered a contract that would sway him? What really went down and went wrong when negotiations were being made? Most importantly, is there still a way to rectify it? What happened during negotiations? The question on everyone's mind right now is why? Why didn't Paramount try harder to get Matthew on board for the spinoff? When news of the actor leading a spinoff series broke in 2023, Chris McCarthy from Paramount Studios claimed that they were thrilled to have the actor on board. This statement was enough to get everyone's hopes high. Then we later found out that the deal was on the table and the kinks were being worked out. Still, that's a pretty normal part of it all, and that's what the table's there for. Then, if Matthew was on board, Taylor wanted him desperately, and Paramount preemptively released a statement saying it was a done deal. Didn't the deal actually go through? A few things to consider here. The news was announced in 2023. And we're now nearing 2025 with no official release date for the spinoff just yet. That's pretty much the long and the short of why Matthew walked away from the project. Okay, we have to elaborate on it. Allegedly, Matthew wanted to be a part of the Yellowstone family as desperately as Taylor was to welcome him in. Paramount has been having a field day with Sheridan, and they're willing to give top dollar to make any of his masterpieces come true. This wasn't a deal that went wrong in the traditional way. Everyone wanted it to happen. So what could have possibly gone wrong? Your first guess would be money, right? That was everyone's first guess too.